Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are at. This is the Back Talk Bros. I am the K and the Back Talk Bros, and we are going to be reacting tonight to the Chiefs' very close win against the Broncos. So stick with us, and hopefully the guys join us here in a minute.
Y'all ready for them Chiefs? Y'all ready for them Chiefs?
So as I said, I am Keys. I'm the K in Back Talk Bros, and hopefully Aaron and Gooch can join us here in a few minutes. Otherwise, I will give you guys my reaction to the Chiefs at Broncos. So, uh, if you guys want to start with some of your own comments, questions, I can start with that. Otherwise, I'll just go in and give you guys my thoughts on this game. So, um, yeah, Daryl, see Daryl with us here. Daryl says hi, everyone. Daryl, good to see you. Good to have you in here with us as always. So, yeah, Scotty's with us. I know Scott's going to have something smart to say. So, yeah, Scott, glad that you're with us as well. What's this? Alan, glad you're with us as well. So, yeah, Alan's with us all the way from the other side of the world. So you're technically Monday morning, right, Alan? So glad that you're with us. Um, Alan says you have two live streams. Okay. Holly's with us. Hey, Holly, glad that you're with us here. Good day to you as well, Alan. So Liz is with us. Holly says, disclaimer, I'm on the tail end of COVID and I'm feeling much better, but a bit fatigued, so no guarantees. Holly, you do what you have to do. So, you're with us. We're happy you're with us. If you're not with us, we totally understand that. You got to take care of yourself. And especially after today's game, you got to take care of your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health. Uh, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. We all do. We all have to take care of our own physical, mental, emotional health, especially after a game like that. So, all right. Alan says it's 12:20 or 12:26 p.m. Monday. Wow. So Monday afternoon. That's just crazy to me. Alan, glad that you're spending your Monday afternoon talking Chiefs football. I'm sure you've already been in one or two Chiefs streams. So, oh man, what a way for you to start your morning, huh? Oh, thanks for the smiley face there, Scott. I know you're up to something mischievous. Holly said it's been a long day with all the football and the crazy game. Yeah, I wish it. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I got one noon game. I had the choice of one noon game, and it was Texans and Cowboys, which is probably the last game I would have chosen had I had a choice in it. So, a little frustrating. I ended up just watching the Red Zone channel so I could watch a little bit of every other team. But yeah, so I kind of watched Red Zone channel and tried to do something for 3 hours until the Chiefs game started. So not as much football for me today, but I do have TV on right past my laptop here, so I can keep an eye on the Chargers and Dolphins. So get a little extra in here. So uh, speaking of, I promised my wife I would set a timer here. So uh, when the guys get here, if they want to keep going, they can. But I'll be jumping out probably around 9 or 9:15. So Holly says, "Thank you, Stevie. Y'all are great, and I love your perspective on things. So I imagine I'll be in here for a bit." Holly points out, "Thank you, Holly. It's summer where Alan is. Alan, I might have to come visit you. I don't like the cold. Like I like to be out walking. I like to take my kids out, and we go on like 2 mile walks and stuff. When it's 30 and 40s, it's really hard to do that. So I haven't really liked the last few weeks. It's been a lot colder here than it was last year. Last year was our first year here, and I might have got spoiled a little bit last year. Oh, there's Aaron with us.
Work.
There he is. Can we hear him tonight? I think I can hear him.
Understand how
Yep.
that worked. We somehow got 2 different streams off the same link.
Wouldn't have been off the same link.
That's what I just looked at in StreamYard.
Okay, I'll check it out later, but I don't know how it would have been off the same link. We'll see. Did you send one to Gooch? I sent one to Gooch.
No.
But yeah, summer well, I don't know about summer per se, but definitely having a little bit more spring or a longer fall would have been nice. Seemed like we just kind of went right to the winterish side of fall.
Hey, Scott.
So all he says, Texans gave the Cowboys a run for their money at least. Yeah, I was rooting for them there. Man, it's proof any given Sunday, right? They almost pulled that one out. So, and that's with a quarterback not even close to, an offense not even close to the Cowboys offense. So, oh, you guys got to watch Giants and Eagles, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, that one was a blowout. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe,
I don't know why they're switching it over to something else.
Maybe Cowboys and Texans wasn't so bad. At least that one was a lot closer, but
it was the whole game too.
There were a lot of good games I wanted to watch. Texans and Cowboys wasn't one of them.
It ended up being a good game though. At least, hey, Bill, Alan, Holly, Scott, Robert.
Holly says Tyreek had a nice touchdown. Yeah, I didn't see it. I heard it while I was setting up.
And Daryl.
Yeah. Wait, mid-30s today, degrees that is. That's Celsius. Is that Celsius?
I don't think so, Steve.
30 degrees Fahrenheit doesn't sound like summer.
I'm assuming that's sarcastic.
That's 95 degrees Fahrenheit. If it is 35 degrees Celsius is 95. That would be way too hot for me. I wouldn't like that. But
For Australia? Okay.
Bill says use VIP League, watch any game you want. It's just on delay. Well, I mean, so is the internet at my house anyway. But yeah, Holly says, yep, it's Celsius for Australia, so around 90 for us. How do you know that math, Holly? I feel like such a Yankee. I do not know. I'm a little bit better now at kilometers than I was when I was younger, but still.
I'm okay with pounds and kilograms.
Right. I'm okay with asking my phone to convert things.
Yeah, that's the quickest way typically.
Liz says she's a doctor, much smarter than us. Holly, did you have to study that as part of your schooling? That's what it is. Holly has a lot of friends who live overseas.
Is it working, Robert?
So this was a really close game. I told everyone I thought it'd be a frustrating game. I was really surprised at how offensive the game was, but it was a 6 point game, right? 28-34.
Rookie corners did not look good at all.
We gave up one more point than we gave up against the Cincinnati Bengals, who have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. These are
To Judy and Dulcich.
these are the confusing, frustrating things about this team. And the crazy thing is, Aaron, like first half, I was like, you know what? This game has actually played out how it looked like it should on paper. Everything I said last night looked null and void, and this game looked like it was playing out exactly how it was supposed to on paper. Then we get up 27-0.
And we just shut down. I don't know if we were going to not show anything. We're going as vanilla as possible, or what?
Well, if that's what we were going to do, we would have ran the ball.
Well,
at that point, we were passing. At that point, by the end of the game, it got lower because they gave McKinnon a bunch of like end of game handoffs that basically went for 2 or 3 yards a pop. But up to that point, we were passing something like 75 to 78% of the time. Going up against what? The number 2 pass defense? Like, we were averaging 5.4 yards per carry at one point when we were up 27-0. We were averaging 5.4 yards per carry going up against the number 2 defense, and we keep passing it 75% of the time. Like, this game is hard for me because I want to be realistic about the defense, but it's hard to put it fully in context when the defense. I don't know if you looked at the defensive stats. Obviously, we went almost 2 whole quarters, 27-0, not giving up any points. We ended up with 2 interceptions, one of which was a touchdown. So I've seen people out there, oh, we scored 34. We scored 34 on the Broncos against this pass D. No, we didn't. We scored 28. 27. Willie Gay scored a pick 6. That's the defense. We didn't score 34. The offense didn't. They didn't score 34 on this number 2 or whatever it is pass defense. One of those touchdowns goes to Willie Gay. Like, 2 interceptions. We had, let me find it here.
Was it 2 touchdowns to McKinnon? So short passes went for long gains, long touchdown.
Yeah. That was another interesting thing. We started out that way, right? Passes to the running backs. We started out that first drive, those scripted plays, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, McKinnon ended up in the passing game. The running backs in this game were really our offense. McKinnon had 7 receptions for 112 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. Pacheco had 13 carries for 70 yards. Those 2 guys were a huge chunk of our offense in this game. 182 yards between the 2 of them. So, yeah. I don't know. I'm frustrated. Like, and I can get both sides of it, right? Because if things were, I can understand, like, there's times as fans where we're like, we're up 27-0, Andy. Keep your foot on the gas. You know, and we would probably get pissed if he started to run it. Like, I think that's a fair criticism. Sometimes we go into that mode. I think the difference to me is, you know, saying this before things started to fall apart, you're going up against one of the best pass defenses in the NFL, and your running backs are actually averaging 5.4 yards per carry, or McKinnon or Pacheco was. McKinnon really didn't have a carry at that point. He had the receptions. And it's like you put those two things together, this is exactly where you want to be against this offense, because the Broncos up until today can't score that well. They can't move the ball that well. You're up 27-0. You feel a lot more confident moving more to the run game. I'm not saying you have to do it 75% of the time, but we were running it 25% of the time at that point. And it's like, get up to 45% of the time. 40%, even 40%, up 27-0 against a team with a bad offense and a really good pass defense. But we kept passing. Our defense got worse because we threw 3 interceptions. I'm not going to knock Mahomes fully on those. 2 of them were amazing freaking plays by the defenders.
He was trying to force it, though.
He maybe shouldn't have made the throws, but any other week, he makes those throws and they're incompletes, and PFF calls them turnover-worthy plays, and we go rant about PFF calling them turnover-worthy plays. Josie Jewell was full extension for that first interception. Patrick Surtain did an amazing job getting both of his hands under that. First glance, I thought it hit the ground first. So, like, I'm kind of in between. And part of that is, should we even have been passing there? So for me, it's like partially Andy blame, partially Pat blame, partially tip your hat to the freaking defender who made an amazing play on that, because most of the time they don't, and we live to see another day. You know,
Hey, Frankie.
You have another opportunity for Orlando Brown to give up a pressure or a sack. So they made great plays. But yeah, I don't want to dominate the conversation.
Yeah, I feel like he was forcing one to Kelsey and definitely forcing one to Schuster. The third one, he had 3 guys around him and he was trying to make it past the guy that caught it.
Yeah,
which most days, yeah, he probably does make that through.
I mean, and I'm not even being biased because Josie Jewell is an Iowa boy, but I mean, those were 2 great plays. So by the defense. So for me, you give them credit. You know, maybe you run instead of passing 75% of the time. That said, I mean, when Mahomes was blitzed today, he was 13 of 15 for 148 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I mean, that's a positive.
Both to McKinnon?
Probably. I'd have to look that stat up.
Why have they stopped using Fortson, Allen's asking?
I have no idea, Alan. This is what I've asked. Like, we get in the red zone now, and we're not using. We started at the beginning of the season. Something I want to say, like Jody. First 2 or 3 games, Jody had something like 7 or 8 targets, 8 or 10 targets, and basically all but 1 were red zone targets. And he started out with 2 or 3 touchdowns the first few weeks of the season. And then he's disappeared on the field a lot. And especially in the red zone. And I don't know what the answer is, Alan. I don't know.
This says she asked questions. We skipped them.
What's that?
Liz says she asked questions and we skipped them. I'm not seeing anything though.
Let's see. Yep. Here.
We both click on the same thing. Yep.
If Williams, Thornhill, and Reed did anything, it wouldn't have been competition. And I have to go back and see what Thornhill and Reed did. Thornhill, I can remember a couple plays with Thornhill, at least. A couple.
I remember him making a tackle at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. And what was it? I don't remember the play. I just remember seeing 22 there. I don't even remember what the play was now. So at least for one play, one or two plays.
But yeah, I didn't notice Reed. I noticed Williams in bad ways.
I just noticed again that we let a quarterback look like an all-world running back against our defense again. A guy who's 33 and a lot slower than he used to be, but he looked really fast against our defense. Like, I think at this point, it almost seems schematic. Like, how do we not have someone in the middle of the field ready for Russ to take off? Like, I think we talked about this 3 or 4 weeks ago. One of the things the Seahawks did, and then was it the Raiders did? I think afterwards, mimicking the Seahawks, where they did the mirror spy, and then they did I think it's called like police or something, where they had 4 down linemen, but one of them ended up dropping as a spy. So when Russ would try to scramble, there was a spy there waiting on him. This is some
I
of the
know
things
we
that, like,
talked about that.
it's one of the things that pisses me off about Spags. Like, you can see people doing things at work, and you just don't care. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll watch all 22, and I'll see he did stuff like that, and then I'll feel bad. But I had this feeling. I told you guys I had this feeling that there was a chance we were going to make Russ look good. Yes, we can talk about that play, Liz. I'm 99.9% sure, and the 0.01% is because I think there was another play this season where the angle made it look like it was a no-look pass, and then from another angle, it's like that really isn't a no-look pass. And so this looked like a no-look pass, but it also could have been he was looking at McKinnon and then tossed it to where, like, away. Like, he was looking at McKinnon, and then he just, like, tossed it over to the left a little bit for McKinnon to run over and get it. So I don't know if
It
that
was
was
a
like
strange throw.
so. Yeah, it was strange, but it was still awesome. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I don't know. I felt a little bit petty today. So after that throw, I tweeted out something like, "Let's see you do that, Caleb Williams." I'm gonna leave it at that
Caleb Williams?
in case Avery is lurking in the comments. I'm feeling just a little petty, not fully petty right now. So
Who's Caleb?
the Heisman winning quarterback for USC.
Oh, yeah. I already forgot that from last night.
It was late, and we were tired.
Second one, he was trying to throw it away. Okay.
The second interception to Josie Jewell, or the second interception, the one that Surtain did an amazing job getting his hands under, I'm assuming, right? Man, I don't think the running back room is fragile. I think we just, for whatever reason, the run. Well, I don't think it's for whatever reason. We don't practice it. I think it's basically what it is.
It's just CEH that's fragile, though.
Yeah. I mean, McKinnon has his injury issues, but I mean, we have a 24, 25-year-old Rojo and a rookie Pacheco. To me, the biggest issue is we don't practice run blocking enough in practice. I think the offensive line basically practices it in game because Andy's such a pass first head coach. I think you've seen with, I'm not going to say anything about coaches, but I think you can see with the Bengals what their coaching staff has done. They're much better pass blocking than they were at the beginning of the season. It's an amazing improvement. They're good at run blocking. Like, I'm just going to leave it at that. Keep Juju, let MVS go. Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the way they're trending.
That's an easy vote if I have a say in it.
If I should screen record the clip of I forget who it is now breaking down Juju catching the ball. Like, he had the amazing catch against the Bengals last week. It was 85% luck. Like, and I forget who broke it down, but they said something like Juju does, or MVS does makes the hard part look easy, but makes the easy part look hard. Um, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, I would love to have Juju back, though. I guess it kind of depends on if he wants to be back or not. So Alan says no more sugarcoating it happens too often. Alan, let us know what happens too often. Holly said she actually thought that Thornhill had a decent game for him, which I guess isn't saying a whole lot. Yeah. Um, I mean, I don't. Do you remember any mistakes by Thornhill, Aaron?
Definitely not off the top of my
I
head.
don't remember screaming at him. So, I mean, there's that. I don't know what that's for, but
When we got up 27-0, I quit paying a whole lot of attention.
yeah. I'd be interested to go back and see, and once the numbers and stuff come out. But to me, this felt like easily McDuffie's worst game, and I could be wrong.
I could agree with that.
There's Gooch, but to me, it felt like it was easily McDuffie's worst game.
He definitely gave up a touchdown, which I'm assuming we were in zone, and he just wasn't keeping an eye on Judy or something on his side, and then he had the interference call.
If it's the one I'm thinking about, I think they were in man and they crossed, and there was a miscommunication with McDuffie and Sneed, and they both cut in to take the inside receiver. The one in the far right end zone where he was wide open,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah. I think it was Sneed and McDuffie, and they both took the inside guy, and
And then McDuffie tried to get back over.
I mean, they might have been in zone, but after like the first half a second, for the most part, zone turns into man. So, but yeah.
I just saw McDuffie running over at the last second.
So, yeah.
So I assumed it was his guy since he was closest.
It was probably zone, and then it basically turned into man. But yeah, they both came inside on that one. That was, yeah. Gooch.
Yes, sir.
I know you got some thoughts on this game.
Plenty.
Where you at?
You back in New York?
No. Where the hell am I?
Jet lagged.
I'm on the highway. That's all I can tell you right now. Oh, we're in Pennsylvania. We live in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Okay.
Flew part of the way and now you're driving?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a fact. And I can tell you that Mahomes had 3 stupid mistakes. And I was really contemplating, because everybody is riding Spags and everybody's riding the defense. And true, there were some things that they could do better. And yes, it was the Denver Broncos. But I watched a game today that was closer than it should have been. And it just reminded me that football players are really prideful individuals. Because the Cowboys should not have had trouble with the Texans, and they got all that they could handle for 4 quarters. And let's not act like the Cowboys aren't talented on both sides of the ball, and that should have been basically a scrimmage. It wasn't. And it actually
And then
took
they
them
do
the
that to
last 30
Minnesota.
seconds. Right. Or to the Colts. Who we can all agree is still better than the Texans, and they struggle with the Texans. And Dallas has way more talent on the defensive side of the ball than we do. With that being said, I still think they need a new voice leading that defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
And I really wish that Patrick would stop locking in on Kelsey.
Especially after he had 3 bad drops that I can think of.
Well, I mean, the one, I feel like the throw wasn't great. Like Travis was full extension. So it's hard for me when a receiver's at full extension to like put that one on them if the ball is more on the finger side. Like if it hits the padded part of the hands, at full extension, you got to catch that. But that first one, I think it was the first one. If we're thinking of the same one, like Travis was full extension, and it just because at first I was mad, and then they showed the replay, and that throw should have been better. But yeah, I don't know, Gooch. I feel like I don't think we've been unnecessarily critical or harsh on the defense. One of the things I pointed out was we were up 27-0 almost at halftime, and our defense hadn't given up any points until the interceptions. Mahomes started throwing interceptions. So, I mean, the defense was doing its job up to that point, and we can't say that they would have continued to. And regardless of the interceptions, it seemed like Clint Kubiak was able to make in-game adjustments against Spags' defense for them to be able to get those touchdowns. So,
But you also have to take into account that when the defense sat on the sidelines, after that, they're not expecting to get up less than 2 minutes later in the altitude when they're all sucking oxygen and then still have to put forth that effort again. I mean, in-game adjustments or not, they were making them the whole time, and we were still spanking them until Mahomes threw the one interception 2 plays in. Then they had to go back out on the field after Denver scores a touchdown, and Mahomes throws another interception.
Right.
I mean, it's, those guys are getting tired and winded. At some point, you have to be like, you know what? That's our fault.
Yeah. And I think that's mostly fair. And again, that's one of the reasons pointed out. It was 27-0. We gave up 0 points, and the points didn't start getting given up until we started throwing the interceptions. And the defense still ended up with 2 interceptions, 7 points scored by the defense, technically 6, extra point for special teams. But, offense scored 27, defense scored 7 themselves, and we got 6 sacks. Like, there were some issues, as Aaron was talking about here. There was the miscommunication with McDuffie, on the one Judy touchdown. That's something they'll fix. to me, part of the more frustrating thing, yeah, some of these happen. Some of these things happen, and sometimes the cornerback is right there in the receiver's hip pocket, and the receiver makes a great, touchdown grab. To me, part of the frustrating thing, and one of the reasons why I'm going to be hard on Spags is, and I know other people disagree with this, Thunder and other people. To me, if basically the whole defense has a tackling problem, it's not as easy as, well, the defensive coordinator put them in, schematically put them in position to make the play, and it's up to them to make the play because they're the professional. I'm not dismissing that, but at the same time, if basically the whole defense has a tackling problem, to me, that's a coaching problem. Nowhere in my life, when a whole group of people suffer from the exact same issue, is the person in charge of them in whatever field it is, in whatever area of life it is that person not at least somewhat responsible? Especially if part of their role is to be a teacher. You figure out where the breakdown is, then you break down the fundamentals step by step. Each person, you break down where they're breaking down, and you break it down, the fundamentals step by step. You cue them to do what they need to do to move on to the next part where they are broken down. Like, so between the tackling and between the attitude, which, people say they play soft, to me, when I say that, it's an attitude thing. We talked about this last night. We expected, especially when we drafted Brian Cook and Leo Chenal, we expected this defense, and we saw it a little bit in preseason, to be enforcers, to be intimidators, to be somewhat closer to what that Titans defense, that defensive attitude is. And we just haven't seen it. Those two things, to me, that's what irritates me. It's not that we have young defensive backs and they're going to make some coverage mistakes. They're going to make some communication mistakes. And by the way, we had veterans who were on the same team for 2 or 3 years who were making those same mistakes. So, take that however you want to. Is that a coaching issue, that the communication and it doesn't get drilled in their heads? Or, on a positive side, hey, these kids are rookies and they're doing it. We had veterans who knew this defense and were playing together for 2 or 3 years and they were still doing it. That's the optimistic side of the rookies. So for me, those are the reasons that I'm more harsh on Spags.
Hey, Wink, good to see you. Seems like it's been a little while. Robert brought up something me and Liz were yelling about.
I hadn't even thought of Wink's point. Now I'm really frustrated. Our offense got outscored 28-27. I hadn't even thought of that.
But yeah, MVS needed to go out of bounds on his catch. He finally caught one, and yeah, he goes directly out of bounds instead of just sitting on his butt.
Yeah, I thought about that one too.
There's 3-something minutes left, and you're trying to run the clock out. Let's go out of bounds. That was just boneheaded. Anything indicating Justin Reed played with passion or decent technique today?
You
I
guys
heard his
remember?
name on a bunch of tackles today.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. I only remember Reed coming in on a blitz, I think. That's my only recollection of him.
Are you possibly thinking of Thornhill?
No, I think I don't know.
There was a lot I didn't pay
The
attention to. So
the broadcast that Stevie had thankfully streamed for me, they were saying Reed's name. He was getting stops and stuff for tackles. So I heard him. I heard less of Thornhill.
Yeah, he had 4 tackles. Yeah, 4 tackles. Yeah, advanced stats probably won't come out for a day or two. But yeah, 4 tackles. That's what he had last game. That's what he had against the Chargers. He had 3 against the Rams. I mean, depending on where he's at, you don't want your safeties to have a lot of tackles, though. That means that means guys are getting past your first and second line of defense. Unless he's up in the box, then it's a different story.
Which it seems like he is less and less.
Thank you, Liz. I think we had it in our notes, but yeah, that's definitely a positive. We want to celebrate Travis getting his 10,000 yards
in 7th season with over 1,000.
And he's the quickest tight end to get to 10,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, by a long shot.
And only one of 5, right? Tony, Gates, Witten, Sharp, I think. Yeah. So, yeah, that's why I know Dan Andrews seems to think that Travis isn't going to play very many more years. But, I mean, since he's hit this mark younger than every other tight end, like, to me, as long as he stays healthy and he takes care of his body, and he has the passion, he's hit the mark way earlier than the rest of the guys. So, at this point, it's a longevity thing.
I think Tony was 11 seasons, and this is really his 9th. It's his 10th season technically, but he didn't play his rookie season, so 9th actually playing. So way quicker.
Yeah. Robert says, thoughts on why Andy parked Pacheco on the bench second half. Guess he heard me blow a gasket and run again. What do you think, Gooch? Or Aaron, if Gooch can't talk. You're broken up, Gooch.
Pretty bad. I couldn't tell you. I don't know what to say to that. I wasn't paying attention at that point. It wasn't really towards the end of the third I started paying attention again and put my phone down. I was watching puppies and kittens. They were cracking me up.
It was just weird. Because again, that first drive, we came out and we were doing a lot of, it seemed, as I recall, we at least caught my attention. We were doing passes to the running backs, getting both McKinnon and Pacheco involved in the passing game very early on, and getting Pacheco involved in the run game. And then, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you pass 75% of a game. Like, it's absurd. It's an absurd percentage.
Especially when you're ahead.
Especially when you're ahead by 27. Like, I don't know. You have a staff. Somebody should be able to say, hey, we're running it, or we're passing it 75% of the time right now. This is one of those things. Like, it's one of those things where this is one of the reasons you get the extremists on the one end that'll say, fire Andy, fire Andy. And they can rightfully point to this. Maybe their conclusion isn't right, but they can rightfully point to this. Like, you have to address it. Like, you have to address being up by 27 and having passed 75% of the time and averaging 5.4 yards per carry on the ground and not making that margin closer, that ratio closer. So, Robert, we don't know. it was just as bewildering and frustrating to us.
Absolutely.
Daryl
You want to
says,
see one of the dogs that I was watching?
one of the dogs.
Oh. I thought it was the bitch button.
Daryl says if the coaching staff would have had the team better prepared. I mean, we got up 27-0. So no points given up to that point and scoring 27 up to that point against the number two pass D in the NFL. Like, they seemed prepared going into the game. It's just what happened when they were up 27-0, and like we said at the beginning, I could understand, because this against a different team where you're maybe not going up against the number 2 pass defense, where we would say, hey, keep your foot on the gas, keep it going. But to me, number 2 pass defense and the Broncos having the worst offense in the NFL, that seems like the most no-brainer situation to run the ball. But okay, whatever.
You got a better video.
Can you help me decide? Do you want me to cook? Lazy bitch. Okay, I didn't even finish my question.
This dog hits the bitch button every time. She's got little buttons that she hits to answer the owners. She says, do you want me to cook or order in? And she didn't even get order in. And she says, cook, 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 lazy bitch. Which was 3 different buttons.
Holly says, I don't get a lot of the game scheduling decisions strategy. Well, I mean, some of it. So they have like a computer that pops out like millions of different schedules, right? It's something crazy. It's a large number of potential schedules, because they have to factor in things like, the Chiefs early in the season can't have home game scheduled the same time as the Royals have home games. And a lot of, with other teams, they have to factor in things like that. They try to factor in not having teams travel too much, concerts, all these different things. But then there's at some point where they try to, I guess, go with what they think compelling, storylines are going to be for different games and matchups. So, and then at the end of the day, money rules everything, right? So teams that draw a lot of viewers, like the Cowboys, West Coast teams, East Coast teams, Mahomes' team, are going to get more of those favorable schedules. But yeah, for the most part, as in most of life, follow the money is the simple answer. Follow the money. You agree, Aaron, with Robert? The Burton cross trap is not fooling anyone on 3rd and short.
Completely.
2 plays that aren't fooling anybody on 3rd and short. That play and having somebody motion and doing a
tight end
snap under center instead of Mahomes doing a quarterback sneak. Those 2 plays aren't fooling anybody anymore.
No.
At this point, how do our coaching staff not know that? Right? Like, those are basically the 2 plays. I guess the third one would be the Mahomes rollout with like a guy on a very shallow drag route.
We don't have the fast guys at the moment.
Like, we have no answer on 3rd and short. I don't know.
Tony and McCole are out, so they can't really do that same thing that they did with Tyreek for Henny. against Cleveland, was it?
You know what we need to do on 3rd and short? Just get a personal foul so it's 3rd and long, and then we'll convert it easily.
Pretty much.
You know, it's one of those things where it's like your strengths are your weaknesses, and your weaknesses are your strengths. Like, or you have to give because we're so good at end long plays, because we're so good at passing plays. We're way more deficient on short yardage plays. We're much more deficient on run plays. You know, it's like that's the give and take of everything. So, all right. Where are we at in the chat here now, Aaron?
I don't know where you're at, so I don't know how to answer that.
Well, here's a positive from Bill. Not as many MVP voters watched this game, so maybe it didn't hurt, but I'm assuming it probably will end up hurting, and all we'll talk tomorrow is how
3 interceptions.
Hurts is now the front runner for MVP until next week when someone else, because storylines drive views and interactions. So, well, let's see.
I'm down much further than you.
I'm sure this is, how long ago was this, Frankie? Almost a half an hour ago.
The one I'm looking at is at 8:52.
All right. Well, Alan asked this. I don't think we got to this. 8:48. Why do we struggle against teams we should thrash? Well, I mean, you know, as Gooch said, he kind of alluded to it. Look at the Texans and Cowboys game, right? Yeah,
Playing down to their level.
To me, it looked like we were bored. We didn't play down to their level when we were up 27-0, though. You know, that's the thing. Like, we had nearly 6 or 30 minutes of football that we weren't playing to their level. We were clearly beating the snot out of them. And so, you know, what happened to change that? Well, we know the interceptions did, but why did the interceptions did? You know, I don't think it was 100% that we were bored. Maybe we were bored because we were dominating them so easily. Maybe it's just simply that the coaches didn't do simple things like not pass the ball 75% of the time against the number 2 defense for pass defense. Like, it seems to me that, and we've all seen it academically and athletically in high school, maybe college too, right? The person who's really athletic or really smart, so they don't practice well or they don't study for tests, whatever it is. You know, like they're so confident and they're so good at everything, they don't apply themselves to be the best they could be. That's what it feels like to me. Like, they don't care about perfection half as much as we do. They don't care about dominating half as much as we do. And to be fair, there's part of the fan base that's this way as well. It's, you know, all they look at is wins and losses, and that's it. All that matters. And maybe that's this team's mindset as well. I don't think that way. I know Gooch doesn't think that way. I don't think Aaron thinks that way. I don't know about everybody in the chat. But, you know, I know there's a good chunk of Chiefs Kingdom that it's literally all they care about is win or loss. That's it. Like, I think there's a point where if you're a fan of football, like, you care about quality football, watching quality football, you know, players playing quality football. But yeah. What is this? Have you all seen the Juju challenge? I have no idea, Liz. What's the Aaron? Do you know what the Juju challenge is?
Nope.
Okay. She says need to pull it up on on YouTube. Juju challenge on this show. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I'll try to find it here. I assume we're talking about Juju Smith-Schuster, right?
I would think so.
My first Google search is something called the Great Juju Challenge. That is a video game. It has nothing to do with Juju Smith-Schuster.
It's a YouTube short, is what she just hollered. Like the dog shorts that I was watching.
Yeah, this most certainly is probably exactly not what she's talking about. So, are you finding it on search, Aaron?
Juju challenge TikTok is what she's saying now.
Oh, TikTok?
She said type that in. Juju challenge TikTok. In YouTube. Yeah, in YouTube.
In YouTube. Okay. Let's see. The only thing I'm seeing here is like Juju catching balls with people standing in front of him.
Let me see. Yes, I guess I do know what she's talking about then. She showed them to me before.
Yeah,
I'm having
Juju.
trouble hearing you.
Maybe it's not. Talking about it.
It is a fairly recent thing, I believe, Holly. But yeah, he'll have people stand in front of him and then just catch it right in front of their face. Okay,
Is this what we're talking about, Liz?
Yes.
Right. This is what came up. Now, I'm guessing this is probably it. I don't know that I would do that.
He thinks it's funny, the guy covering his crotch and he gets thrown down that way.
What do you think, Aaron? Could you do that? Could you be the person standing there?
But I would cover my crotch like that guy did at the same time. Are you talking about catching the ball or standing there?
Oh, that's funny. I gotta agree with Oregon here. Went from thinking it was going to be a nice, relaxing game, and then the Chiefs said not so fast. It's like No such thing as an easy game. Let me get that back.
I think they just
No, we don't want to zoom in.
relaxed for a bit. And let the other
Holly
team
says
back
she's
in.
learned there's no such thing as a nice, relaxing Chiefs game. There's been a couple of them. I think basically last year's Raiders game at some point.
Yeah, not
Actually, a lot of them have been the Raiders games, right? There was the one, 2 or 3 years ago where D-Rob had 2 or 3 touchdowns in the second quarter. Yeah, there's been a few of them. Burnett Music Foundation asks, do you guys think the Chiefs got overconfident in the first half? I would say so. You're up 27-0 and you're passing 75% of the time and you don't readjust.
still.
What do you think, Aaron? Overconfident? Spags
Definitely.
wasn't having the D play as a tight because he had a 27-point lead. Andy was just letting Pat run or pass instead of calling more runs.
They were like, hey, wait a second. We're typically a second half team.
Oh, kids are getting restless. My time here might be about done.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on having a long one. I'm tired and I need to get my dog an oatmeal bath before she stretches herself to death.
Because I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through here. I'm going to have to leave really quick, or it's soon, but lots of bandwagon fans calling for coaches to be fired, players cut, one and done in playoffs, etc. The season isn't over, let alone the playoff seeding. This team is 10-3 in a rebuilding year. Yeah, I don't know about the word rebuilding, but I understand the concept behind it. But
what were they saying?
No, that's the thing. Like, on the one hand, and we try to hit every spectrum of fandom, right? Like everything in between the extremes, and we hit the extremes and stuff. Like on the one hand, there's a lot of things to be frustrated about. On the other hand, there's still things we can be patient about, like the rookie corners. We knew they were going to have, growing pains. Growth isn't linear. You can have great games, as you're growing, and you can then have 2 or 3 bad games. Like, to me, the problem isn't making those kind of mistakes. That's the classroom. And when they watch the film review, that's more classroom. And then when they get instructions on how to fix those things, that's more classroom. It's more of kind of the tackling and things that have been long-standing. They're longer than just this iteration of the Chiefs team, right? It's more than a one-year issue. We've been complaining about how this defense tackles for how many years now? Basically, the whole time Spags has been here, maybe even longer than that. Like, that's kind of one of the frustrating things. But then on the other side of it, right, we're 10-3, which means we could lose the rest of our games. And we would end up having the exact same record that the Bengals had last year when they ran the table in the playoffs and made it to the Super Bowl. So if we end up 13-4 or 14-3, I'm just saying, like, the record ultimately isn't going to matter the most. Having the number 1 seed ultimately isn't going to matter the most. You can be 10-7. The Bengals were 10-7 last year and they made it to the Super Bowl. You don't lose 7 games without making mistakes. So the Bengals were making mistakes in those 7 games. I think the big thing is, right, and this is where I think the two sides argue past each other on the extremes. I think the big thing is what the people who get so worked up about this team, I think the core of the issue is, the reality is, if you don't fix those things, if coaches don't make better decisions at times, because the coaches are at fault for things, it's this big word if. We can't play like this and make it to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl. And so it's the if. If we fix this, if we fix that, if coaching, gets better at this, if coaching makes better decisions in these situations, if, right? And I think it's okay as a fan to be frustrated and have concerns about the ifs. At the same time, I think part of being an emotionally strong individual is understanding what you have control of in life and what you don't have control of in life. And sports isn't life. And there's a lot we don't have control over as fans. We really don't have control over anything other than whether we watch the game or whether we shell out money for tickets, those kinds of things. And so ultimately, if we feel like we need control, we turn it into really weird things like arguing about whether Andy should be fired and Pat should be traded or, whatever.
Garoppolo's
People
better
are
than
venting.
Tannehill.
I hope people don't really ever believe the Mahomes should get traded. They're venting because they have no control. And they just watched somebody who didn't have any business throwing 75% of the time, especially with a 27-point lead, throw 3 interceptions. It's frustrating for them. Like, I think we can have some patience with them if we understand, part of that frustration. And from the opposite side, when we act like a win is a win and that's all that matters, that's frustrating too. Like, yeah, we got to win, but we can talk about things the team needs to get better on. Like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both and it can also be in between as well. Holly is a legend.
Indeed.
Did you already put up Holly's Any Given Sunday comment, Aaron?
Yes.
I think you did.
Can you not hear me? Again? You having trouble? Can you guys hear me?
Oregon says there's grown men on the other side of the ball that want to beat them, so it all comes down to the players doing their jobs. They know what to do and where to be. Yeah, it's true. I think sometimes it seems like on our end, our team doesn't want to beat the other team nearly as bad as the other team wants to beat us. And you can understand that when you play a Broncos team. It's a lot harder to understand how that can be the case when you're playing a Bengals team that had already beat you twice in 2022. So,
can you hear me, Steve?
I can see it, Aaron. I can't hear you though.
Okay. What about you guys? Can you guys hear me?
Now I can hear you. Sorry, were you trying? I hope I wasn't talking over you.
A little bit.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I
can hear you now. What's that?
Not that big of a deal. I was making sure they could hear me, and yeah, they hear me. Okay.
I hear you. I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? Okay. We're good to keep going. Then we got a long ways to go, it looks like. All right, what do we got here? I think of legends like Elvis Presley, Beatles, Kobe, Peyton Manning. How are you not going to throw Michael Jordan in there? Come on, Holly.
Right.
Barry Sanders.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Kobe in there over Michael Jordan.
Jerry Rice.
I mean, she put Peyton Manning in there over Brady and Joe Montana and
possibly the smartest quarterback. Possibly. Jordan and Brady, I'd have to say, have that killer killer instinct and just ultimate competitors.
Right. Hungry. Super hungry.
That's a good way of putting it.
So I want to throw this out. I'll probably be jumping off here in a minute, but I want to throw this out because we talked about Russ doesn't like to throw over the middle. We talked about that last night. Russ was 11 for 15 with 1 touchdown throwing to the left side of the field, 8 for 10 and 2 touchdowns throwing to the right side of the field, 7 for 10 with a touchdown and an interception throwing at or behind the line of scrimmage. And he was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 for 9, including an interception, throwing in the middle of the field. So
trick him into throwing to the middle of the field and make him go to his left.
he doesn't want to throw to the middle of the field. That's the thing. Like we could have left the middle of the field open other than a spy just because he'd take off running. But yeah.
Well, you see what Willie Gay did, though. He was right in front of him.
Joe, welcome in here. I'm just scrolling down here as I get ready to head out. Maybe Gooch can hit a pocket where he gets reception again and can jump back in.
Holly did bring up something I thought about is I was wondering if we were getting tired being in the high altitude.
Yeah, and Gooch mentioned it. It's legitimate, and you throw in Gooch was right. You had interception. The Broncos score a touchdown. Our very next drive, Pat throws another interception. Broncos score a touchdown. Like there was no rest for the defense. They were quick. Touchdowns. Yeah. Interception, touchdown. Interception, touchdown. So very legitimate. But yeah, I'm gonna jump out here, guys, and then I'll probably still be able to be in the chat. But
I did not plan on staying on very long myself.
So you got to, Aaron. You got a lot of stuff to get through.
Lady needs to quit scratching the hell out of herself. So I was going to give her an oatmeal bath.
I'm going to have a bowl of oatmeal. I eat like an old man. Keeps your heart healthy. Hear that, Gooch? I eat like you.
You just drop off completely. Where were you? In the chat.
Who, me? I'm just scrolling now. I'm at the end now. I'm just scrolling to see.
It's another good point. Frankie's talking about that if we were playing from being down, Pat would have turned it on like usual.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing. Do you think Andy has his ceiling and just never won a Super Bowl because he didn't have Pat Mahomes to get him over the top? He never got the Eagles there. McNabb wasn't that great, though, in my opinion.
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, the reality was, though, we didn't even get that game tied up or start taking the lead until like 7 or 8 minutes left against the 49ers. Like, we didn't make great adjustments. They left Fisher and Schwartz out there and Bosa and that defensive line and D Ford and that defensive line. Like, we honestly got away with some holding. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that a whole lot has changed since then other than, Schwartz's retirement, 'Cause I would say that's probably a somewhat fair assessment. Like, you know, it's kind of like quarterbacks. There are quarterbacks who are really good, steady quarterbacks, right? You can count on them to win you 9 to 11 games a season, being really good game managers. And then there are elite quarterbacks who will win you games. Those really good game managers not going to win you game. They're not going to lose you game. They're going to put you in every game. Like,
We're arguing over 2 game managers now.
so
Garoppolo's still better.
I disagree, but 49ers scored 35 points today without Jimmy.
What's their winning percentage without him typically?
Don't know. I don't care.
I know with him it's 83.
They were winning games, I want to say last year or the year before, with CJ Beathard as their quarterback.
6.42% for Tannehill.
I think that if Shanahan had his choice between Jimmy and Ryan, he'd take Ryan.
I disagree.
He's more mobile, more accurate. He makes better decisions.
Garoppolo has a better passer rating. Incompletion percentage.
He's in a much friendlier system to the quarterback, though, and half of their receptions are behind the line of scrimmage.
The quarterback still has to make it happen. Most games come down to who has the better quarterback. Most games.
Most games.
But there's still 2 game managers.
No, anyway, guys, I gotta get out of here. So thank you guys. I'll see you next time. I don't want to talk like we're both leaving, but I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you guys for spending the last hour and a half or whatever. It's been a little over an hour or so now with us. So
Have a good night, man.
See ya.
All right, what do we got? Joe Labate. We didn't play down during the first half until the end. Yeah. Then we just started trying to give it away. Seems like this D has regressed and they were more of a fast swarming scheme earlier in the season. Definitely. And I don't know if that has to do with everybody getting tired and banged up, but that's every season, so it's hard to say. Most infuriating game of the year, other than the Colts, yeah, I'd agree with that. Because we should have had it put away. Still, with it being 27-0, should have been put away at 27-14, which is around where I had the final score being. So I don't know what was happening. I said 27-13 last night, and that was pretty much the first half. But Kerr didn't miss any kicks. Been a fan for so long that I have scar tissue and will never heal from past teams. This team is special and fans should enjoy the hell out of it on this run. Indeed. Yes, for once, special teams didn't mess up. Huh. I know we had at least one really good punt today that I was paying attention for. What kills me is that with the tight end fullback dive, couple of weeks ago, they literally pitched out of the formation to McKinnon, and it worked. Yeah, I don't know if we're trying to set it up to do more stuff like that or what, but they definitely need to think of something. I don't get why we don't do pitches towards the outside to a running back or whoever. Have a tight end go into the H-back role and block on a pitch out. I don't get it. Broke his former PB with that was a 75-yarder with a 76-yarder. Gross yards, 55 net. He left the second in out. How dare you? He's your guy. Don't disrespect him like that, Holly. All right. It's like Andy's brain gets in the way of his decision making. I'm still salty about this. Need to drink more. I don't know if that's the ticket. It's definitely frustrating. I'm with you. And welcome, Joe. What else do we have? Sounds like I need to start watching the game. I'm trying not to read those comments about the game that's going on right now. Wild card game against Steelers last season was kind of relaxing. Even the terrible towels were saying Chiefs are going to win. Yeah. We did dominate that game, which I figured we would last year. Good night, Baxters. Liz says. Take care of the puppers. That is the plan. She just scratches and scratches. I don't know what her deal is. She's got so many allergies, we can't figure out what the deal is. Like whatsoever. It's very cool though that there are fans all around the globe. Alan in Australia and Mike in Sweden. Yeah. Mike is actually from here. He is American. But yeah, he goes to work at like 4 o'clock his time. 4 a.m. So he's definitely got some crazy hours compared to us. Yes, everybody, please like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends. We're usually more upset when we lose than, yeah. Today was just extremely frustrating. And I don't know if the rookie corners are starting to hit a wall or something. But they've got to learn the only way to do that is to be thrown out in it. So they'll get better. We do bring the mistakes on ourselves, for sure. A lot of people can't take it into perspective. It's a game and entertainment. That is true. It really gets to your gut, though. Shouldn't be an intrinsic part of one's personality or one's self-worth. True. Should have an in-home heart starter with every game. Yeah, that would come in handy. Sure, more often than not. Wow, when Stevie and Aaron call me a legend, I know I've arrived. I don't know if I'd say it means much. But that's why I had that comment up forever. You are. Still here having COVID, so I know we appreciate you. If we tried to trade Brown at the end of the season based on his performance so far, what could we get in a trade, if anything? Yeah, probably nothing. Donkeys? We could get a donkey? That's how I'm taking that. How they were critiquing your legend choices. Cup of coffee on a good day. Yeah, pretty much. Did he have a better day today? I don't know how it could get worse from last time. They've got a good defensive line, so it's hard to judge it based off of this. I did not want to see this. Wasn't T.O. playing on broke ankle in that Eagles Super Bowl against Pats? He was awesome in that game too. Yeah. Well, it's not the argument anyway. I did have him with a draftable grade for our RGR. I'm assuming Holly took care of that. Okay, Frankie, if it's your girlfriend, hopefully you have another means to get in contact with her. I don't know what I missed there. Sorry, Aaron. Wish I could help more with your itchy dog situation. I'm sure she does too, but yeah, I don't know what to do for her. We need to try and talk them into giving her some shots. Some kind of Benadryl shots or something. So we give her Benadryl constantly and it doesn't seem to help. I can hear her chewing on herself now. So, yeah, I better get out of here. Everybody enjoy the game. Great to see you. And we'll be back.
You got your team, and we got a kingdom. Ready for war, we score at will. We're the Super Bowl champs, the king of the hill.